Hi, welcome back to Battleboards and the continuing of the making of the Shattered Destiny demo boards. And today we're going to be looking at how I finish some of the rock work off and paint the actual boards. Okay, before we begin, I thought I'd give a quick update on where we are with the boards. This was the wall section that we looked up in the last movie, so if you didn't see that, please go and have a look at that, and that sort of explains how they were created. And the whole board has been spanned round 90 degrees so I can work on the other half of the table. The bridge is also completed, which gives main access to the main compound, and I made this removable so that can be removed. Okay, so this is where the sand drift will come down from the two sort of end mounting pieces, and this would be sort of looking at the board in the wrong way, but I've moved it round this way so it's easier to work on. So I've just got a plywood base that I've just sculpted out to fit in between the two, and I'm going to build that up to have some sort of sand drifts. Okay, for this section I've then added a foam top to present the sand, and now I'm going to use some of my resin just to laminate and bond that securely to the wood. I've also glued it, but I never just like relying on just the glue, so I tend to laminate the seam as well with the resin. I'm also going to laminate the entire surface as well with the resin, because that will help give it a start of a texture and give it extra strength. And so I'm just going to give that a coat of textured paint as well. I'm just going to finish off the sort of end mounting pieces. I'm just going to put some of my resin to cover the gap between the plywood ends. I'm also going to paint the backs with some textured paint, just to help that idea that it's rock work. Okay, now for the messy bit. We're going to spray the rock work with some light washes, and I'm going to be using these sort of water sprays to do that, like in some other of the movies. So it's important to remember this is quite messy, so do watch your overspray because it's going to go quite far. And you can do this as many times as you want, just to keep building up the colour. Now that the washes are almost dry, I'm going to sort of finish off the rock work. Although it looks really nice with the washes over, because it's the desert I want it to look sort of drier looking. So I'm going to dry brush this sort of orangey sort of colour across the rock work to bring out the highlights. This will help it look like it's sort of been baked in the sun. I'm going to just airbrush some of the darkness back into the rock work with a bit of black. So I wanted the rock work to be quite dark, so I'm just going to spray around, get under the creases and stuff. Trying to spray from underneath to let the sort of black form some of the shadows. The next job is to actually paint the battle boards themselves. So I'm doing these independent of all the other scenery so they can be used on their own. Although ideally it would be better to actually, you know, put the mountains down and blend, and to a certain extent even take out the different levels. I think ultimately the flexibility of having fairly flat boards overrides the artistic or the look. Again, this is probably where terrain differs from doing dioramas, because with a diorama you've got the flexibility of setting it up just how you want, and then it would remain that way forever. With wargaming terrain you want more flexibility than that, so you can set up the terrain in different, you know, locations or in different ways to allow different styles of games. So the drawback of that is that you can't make all the features fit perfectly and look as if they're completely seamless, because, you know, as soon as you move it out the way, you'll see the spray line or the extra hull bit that you put in to make the terrain fit. As the boards are already pigmented brown, it's a fairly simple process of putting the base colour down and even letting some of that undercoat or that sort of pigment colour show through. It's a really good start, and let the texture of the board do the work and come through. I spent a lot of time experimenting with the texture of the actual board and ended up with this sort of cracked earth feel, which is ideal for so many different layouts, and can be painted to be concrete or sand, cracked sand like I'm doing now, snow. It's a really good terrain texture. And it's got quite a lot of depth to it as well. There's probably about 10 mils worth of depth between the top surface and some of the deeper cracks. Okay, just to finish off the boards, I've given them an undercoat, and now I'm just going to spray over with the water sprayers. This is sort of like a light creamy colour. Again, it's not really the standard desert colour, so I wanted a little bit more of a colour to it, being Dune. But this will help sort of even out the boards and sort of just break up that colour a little bit. Okay, now the boards are pretty much the right colour. I'm just literally just going to spray in a little bit of brown just to darken up some of these holes, just to give it a little bit more depth with the airbrush. And then after airbrushing, just to finish it off, I'm just going to give it a very light dry brush with some light white, almost white. It's actually got some of the sand colour mixed into it as well, and that will just skim over the surface and just pick out some of those nice bits of detail. So that's really it for the boards. I just wanted to sort of get in close so you can get an idea of the amount of detail that's actually carved into the board, or pre-carved into the board, which I think really helps the actual look of the surface, which you can't really see from a distance. But there's quite a bit of detail actually in the board already, so it just needs picking out with the paint to bring some of that detail out. One of the final things I wanted to do with the layout was make the section of wall destructible, so that troops could actually destroy the wall and enter the compound in a different way. So what I decided to do was I've made up these destroyed sections which simply slot into the wall, making it destroyed. And I've made these fit both sides. These are not finished yet, obviously. I thought it'd be easier to show you how these fit together before I painted them. And I've made some extra little bits just to sort of lay about to give the impression that the wall has been destroyed. Okay, this is I've spun the board round 90 degrees and just set up this half so I can demonstrate how the destroyed section of wall works on both sides. So to move it over, the best thing to do is remove the tops first so you don't knock them off as you're moving things around, and then move the loose pieces out of the way. And then you need to slide the rock section out, and that's actually made so it slides in and out from left to right, so you just slide that out. Remove the end towers, which allows you to remove the wall section, like so, and these will then move across to the other side, like that. and then you can slot the end wall, tower 1, back into its position and slide that wall up with a bit of wiggling around. You should find that fits in quite tight. Then the middle section pops out and that slots in between the two walls. It's always best to lift one of the walls first and just push that in. Give that a little bit of a wiggle until both positions are right. Then you need the other wall section for the other side, which can then slot back into that side. Again, I've made it quite sturdy so you can give it a good tap and it shouldn't fall apart at all. Then you've got your missing piece on this side now. You can then return all the tower tops to their position, and then finally move the broken walling, which can be placed as obstacles or just as a sort of artistic look to make it look like some of the wall has survived the blast. And then it's just a case of sliding in the rock work back into its position, which is a little bit stiff, so you just need to sort of wiggle it around a bit till it fits in. You should find it slides in quite tightly, and that's how you remove the broken section of wall from this side to this side. And then if you want it all back in one position, obviously if you were starting the game, then you would remove the broken piece, or you wouldn't have put the broken piece in yet. But I'll just show you how that wall section then slides back in. Again, it's probably best to remove the tops just in case you knock them over. And then you slide the wall in like so, and then slots in with a bit of a wiggle. And then the wall section can go back in, and tower tops back on. I'm sure you'll get this after a few goes. And then the trickiest bit is getting this rock work to slide back in like so, and then you've got a full wall section. So I hope you've enjoyed the movie. I thought this would be the last one, but the project is quite a large one, so I think I'll add a couple more movies showing you some of the finer details and the finished board when it's finally completed. So please do look out for those, and thank you very much for watching and for subscribing. Thanks very much. See you again soon.